Hey everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Kieran. I like to help guide people through their spiritual awakening, help people using a spiritual perspective, that sort of nature. Today I wanted to talk about something that I think a lot of people go through when they're pretty much in the thick of their own spiritual awakening, or, kind of reach that point where, as many of us do in life, where we become a little bit disillusioned, a little bit lost, kind of not tied down, a little bit kind of all over the place. Either, your heart might be in one direction, your mind in another, not quite sure what it is that is supposed to align you, right? So this feeling of being lost, this kind of perpetual confusion that might be going on in your life. And this happens different times, different people, regardless of spiritual awakening or not. So today I just wanted to kind of touch upon that, and I wanted to kind of expand on why feeling lost is actually a good thing, or why it's good signs that something positive is going to come out of it at the end, right? I know it's definitely very hard to see the good or the hidden blessings in dark situations or confusing times, but in the end, by the time that it's all over and you kind of look back at it, you're definitely able to see why it was actually a great experience and why it was necessary to go through it. So hopefully this is able to kind of give people a little bit of hope or renewed faith during a time of spiritual crisis. Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of go down a little list that I wrote down 5 things of why it's why feeling lost is a good thing. So hopefully some of it resonates, hopefully all of it resonates, but if it doesn't, then I don't know what to tell you there. Okay, so for the first one I put, if it were easy to find, then everyone would have found it. And I think I got that quote out of a Pirates of the Caribbean movie, so I don't know how good it is, but it did resonate to me, because, and it's very true, if it were easy to find, everybody would have found it. And this is kind of true for almost most things. If there's anything good in life, I don't know if you've ever kind of come across anything by accident that it took you kind of a hard time to get there. But, when you find that place that was a little bit more difficult to get to, it turns out to be that it was very worth it in the end. So a real life story that I can think of is the mountains surrounding the town that I live in. The town, I live in a valley, and there's mountains that surround this valley. And you can climb these mountains. There's rocks, rock climbing type of thing. You can climb them all the way to the top. The only problem is that a lot of them don't necessarily have trails, or the trails that they do have aren't very good. So it's a kind of a difficult journey. It's a difficult reaching that top. And it means you have to kind of go through a lot of bush, and you have to kind of navigate your way a lot of the times without any sort of guide, map or trailhead to lead you in the right direction, to get to that top smoothly type of thing. So there was a time where it's happened more than once, but the first time that it happened was, of course, the most scary, was that I was lost completely. It starts off on a trail, this little, I guess you can call it, I don't know what it is. It's like a little park canyon type of thing in this neighborhood. And so, it starts off with a trail, and then eventually you kind of have to do your own thing. So when it got to that point of having to do your own thing to climb this mountain with all these rocks, it got to a point where I was basically lost completely, didn't know where I was going. I had veered so far off from what I was doing, had no really idea which direction. I knew that, down was towards, my house, or the houses, a car, and everything. That was towards society, and to go up was, of course, towards the top of the mountain, but I couldn't see correctly, all these bushes and stuff in the way, all the rocks. It was getting dark out, so, the sun was almost completely gone, and I needed to go find a trailhead, or get back on something. I had no idea what was going on. But it took about 20 minutes to just pushing through complete bush and, rocks and dirt, and, really scuffing up my skin, clothes, stuff like that. Super dirty by the end of it. But when I did reach the top, it was probably one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. I mean, it's not something that people talk about. It's not something that people, I've never heard anybody say, oh, go to that place because of the beautiful view, because it wasn't on a trail. It was something that I had just managed to come across by accident, right? And I could see over the entire town and the adjacent towns, a huge mountain. I mean, they're not like huge mountains, but they are pretty big. And to go on top of that and look at everything it was amazing, and the sun was setting in the background. It was completely beautiful, but I had to be lost to get there. And there's many times that in my life where I've traveled across places where the most remarkable, breathtaking things that I've ever seen are often the places that aren't on tourist maps, aren't the places that everybody's going to. It's just, you just like took a wrong turn somewhere, and you're now driving through like some amazing place that looks like it was designed, just for this beautiful experience, just for to be appreciated. And that is kind of the same idea that I'm trying to instill into you now. I know that was a bit of a tangent, but the point is that if it were easy to find, then everyone would find it. Okay? Because again, it's sometimes you have to get lost in order to find that special place. Because not everybody's going to take the time to get lost, right? They're not going to put all that effort into this truth, into this this thing that you believe in. A lot of people give up on their own dreams, their own ideals, their own passions, and everything like that. But being spiritually awakened, or finding this great desire in your life that moves you, is inevitably going to reach you to a point where you feel lost. Because if you were not lost, again, everybody would be there already, and you wouldn't need to go through all of this trial. It wouldn't be a personal experience, and it wouldn't be worth anything to you by the end of it. Okay? Cool. So for number 2, I put, it allows you to see what isn't you as the old dies away. Okay? And so I kind of want to think about this as like stripping you down to the bare necessities of who you are. So when you're lost, you quickly realize that you cannot take everything that you have with you, because it just weighs you down. Like, you cannot do it. You can't keep going forward towards this goal, this ideal, this clarity, this perception change, this new reality that you want for yourself, this new life, if you're carrying around things that don't matter to you anymore. And so being lost is really going to show you right in your face. All of these things are going to come up, from your own, in your own life patterns, maybe that are outdated, habits, addictions. They're all going to come up to the surface that you might have dealt with before, but were easily able enough to be like, nah, I don't need that shit, because, you weren't lost or anything. You didn't have to deal with it immediately. You could just push it away. But all that stuff gets brought up to the surface when you're in the state of being lost, disillusioned. And it really, you really start to go, well, holy shit, all this stuff sucks. Like, I can't actually do this anymore. Like, you literally cannot. You physically feel that doing those things is like the definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, right? I think that's the definition of insanity. I don't know. I saw it on a fridge magnet once, so who knows how reliable that was. But the point is, you kind of get it. Sounds like it could be true. So when you are lost, the things that once worked don't work. And in order to get to that place, that little, let's say, the clearing in the bushes type of thing, that mountaintop, in order to get there, you have to just get rid of shit, beliefs. Eventually you're so lost that you have to either get to a point where you're like, you know what, I have to do it. I have to actually do it. There is no time to be like, I can't do it anymore, I'm scared, because you're lost, right? You're either going to die and shrivel up, if this was real life, like actually being lost in the wilderness, or you have to keep going. And so in this kind of metaphor, I think anybody that's spiritually awakened, and most people really do choose to keep going. It's that perseverance that keeps you going to the other end, right? To see what it is. So you're already lost, you may as well just keep going. And in order to keep going, you have to just like pause sometimes and realize that there's, the things that were part of you that might have worked in the past no longer work. And in order to really finally get to that place of salvation within yourself, that clarity, you just need to get rid of the things that don't work, and the baggage and the heavy emotions and the pain. All of those things have to go. And so part of feeling lost is having to deal with all of those emotions at once, because they're all brought to the surface for you to just release, so you can just take better steps forward, larger steps, bigger leaps, so that you find your destination more quickly. Because it's very hard to get to that place that you need to go when you've got such a heavy baggage on you. So if you really were a traveler and you needed to get to a place quicker, you would shed some shit. You would just get rid of it. The things you don't need, you would toss. And you keep the bare essentials. And that's what being lost does, is it breaks you down into the bare essentials of who you are. And everything that is you cannot be taken away. So then you let go of all the old stuff that isn't you. And it'll enable you to find that place that you need to go. And there you'll discover that everything that you need is actually inside of you, and that can't be taken away. And so that's going to be able to let you go forward and kind of create that new life. But of course, you have to be lost in order to get it, right? That's kind of the whole point. Okay, so for number 3, I put you have to be lost in order to find it, which is kind of what I just said, basically. So it's kind of like if it was the first one, like if it were easy to find, then everyone would have found it, which is true. And this is just kind of saying you have to be lost at all in order to find it. And that's also very, very true. It seems kind of simple, I guess. It's not maybe that profound in a way, but to realize that you actually have to be lost, that the whole point was to be lost, that being lost is part of it, then it kind of makes it a little bit easier to accept that there is something on the other end, that it is going towards something, because you're being lost as a part of finding it. Again, and it just goes into half the things that I'm saying. Most of the things worth seeing that in my personal experience have always been kind of accidental, or things that I didn't mean to find, or places that I was lost. Just the most beautiful sights, beautiful things, the things that happen, the people that come into your life are always the things you don't really expect, right? And so you have to be lost in order to find these things, because it's kind of like letting the universe decide it for you, letting the universe give you what you need, while you're just kind of lost navigating through this kind of journey, and with all the emotions and confusion that come along with it. And that's just something that kind of gets accepted, or it should get accepted at some point in order to move forward. Okay, so for this last one here, I put, this means you're close to finding something profound. Okay, and I think this is the most important part of the whole aspect of being lost, is that when you start a spiritual journey, whether or not you're awakened, or if it's just something that's very dear to your heart, you find that when you start, there isn't much confusion, there isn't much pain, there isn't much suffering. You have an idea and you're going for it. You're very much a fool. If you're familiar with tarot cards, they have a major arcana, which is the Fool card, which basically just denotes a leap of faith, a new beginning, not knowing what's going to happen, a naive type of young person going forward without any clue what's going on. Okay, and there's many times in life that you do this. I've done this type of fool's journey probably about 3-4 times in the last year. Okay, each one being a huge leap forward. And so what you find is that when you're lost, it means that you've done pretty much all that you can, all that you could have. You've taken your leaps, you've become disillusioned, all the old stuff has been broken away, you've been beaten by physical changes, mental changes. You're basically just at a point where you're like begging for some type of miracle, begging to come upon something, because all you have left is this little bit of perseverance and the courage necessary to go forward, or at least knowing that you had courage, right, to get this far. And so what you have now is just this emotional state of just disillusionment, feeling lost, feeling like there's nothing coming, that there's no real good ending to all of this, whatever it is, that there's nothing that's happened good, positive, because it's just ended you in a place where everything is confusing and it makes no sense. But that's exactly where you need to be in order to have that profound moment, in order to have that life-changing moment, in order for that miracle to come along, right? Because you're at the end stage now, where you've tried everything, and now you're at the mercy of your own soul, at your own experience, at your own life, right? There isn't much else you can do other than keep moving forward. But you become to a point where it's like, is moving forward, where am I moving forward to? What's going to be there? Is anything going to work out? And you're so stressed and confused and scared. And those are right about the times when there's something right around the corner. Literally, that patch of grass, that patch of woods, clearing in the woods, that's like right there. You just got to go up the hill just a little bit, right? I've seen this quote. It's not my quote. I think it's a book title. I saw it in another video. I think it's like called 2 Miles from Goal or something. I think the idea is that people often give up right before they reach destination, right before their goal. And so being lost is this huge, profound thing, because you're actually very, very close, incredibly close to what you need to have. And all it takes to get there is just, a couple more steps forward. That's it. It just takes a little bit more determination, a little bit more courage, a little bit more, of your own power to say, you know what, now I'm going to give up some more shit. I'm going to get rid of this stuff. It doesn't serve me anymore. It's not working for me. So why don't I just, I'll move forward a little bit. Can I move forward? How do I move forward just a little bit? How do I go 2 more miles? There's got to be something I can get rid of in order for me to go 2 more miles. And when you do that, you realize what it is. For me, it's been diet. I've said this a couple times in my video, but I've been really trying to just get rid of the shitty, outdated diet. Okay, I grew up using food as a mechanism to deal with sadness or entertainment, and a source of something outside of myself to fulfill me. Right? Seems kind of sad to say, but it's true. Other people go through it. I think you could probably relate in some way. And so for me, it's a huge part of my life to get rid of that. Another huge thing was marijuana. I loved marijuana. At the beginning of my spiritual awakening, it really expanded my mind, made it so incredibly powerful. The experiences, the connections that I would feel to the universe. But eventually it becomes a bad habit. It becomes something that you don't want to do every day, especially if you find yourself in a state where you're feeling lost and your life isn't stable. It's not a good idea to just get lost in something, to escape. It becomes an escape mechanism. And eventually my body didn't react to it the same way. It didn't feel good. I would always have foggy. I'd be foggy. I wouldn't be clear anymore. The downloads and the amazing insights that I would have, while they would still come, it was at a greater, let's say, loss. It was at a greater sort of pain than the whole thing was worth. Whereas I probably could have just realized that same thing if I had just meditated instead, right? Like, I realized that I didn't really need to be smoking weed anymore to get the same effects, right? So diet and weed are 2 things that over the past week or 2, and especially with this last full moon, have been really just pushing out of my life as much as I can, because you want to just get to that next point. You want to get to that next stage in your life, and you realize that there's some things in your life that could go, and you recognize that you feel lost. But being lost is great, because again, just 2 more miles, and that profound, amazing insight, that miracle, that thing that lifts you up, whatever it is, that dream job, the dream relationship, the person that pops in your life, the insight, the idea, the invention, the creative pursuit, the partner that you need to meet, business or otherwise, all of that will be there. One of those things, definitely, right? Because hard work does pay off. Because again, being lost, in order to find that place that you need to be, you need to be lost first. Otherwise, again, it wouldn't be worth a lick of anything. Okay? And I can tell you how important it is for me just to even kind of articulate all of that stuff, because there are many times in my life where I feel the same way. And this is a stage in my life where I often feel exactly the same as the message that I'm trying to get across. So really, it's just I couldn't stress it enough that the important things that you need in life, that the goal, the destination that you're reaching, often means that in a spiritual sense, on a spiritual journey, that you're going to be lost first. You're going to be lost for a part of it, because it's just asking you to grow just a little bit more in order to match the vibration of the thing that you're going towards. Because that thing is yours. That's yours by your divine right, whatever that is to you. The happiness, or the personal satisfaction, the love, the job, the house, the dreams, whatever it is that you have, that's all yours. But you need to match that level. You need to get there. And in order to get there, at some point, you're lost, because being lost means you can shed away all the shit that doesn't work, so you can finally step up. Take those last 2 miles and just do it, okay? And this is going to allow you to discover new facets of yourself, and new hobbies, new friends, new relationships, new places to go. And it's going to create it's going to take all the things that you have left inside of you, the things that could never be changed, the parts about you that are just make you who you are, and it's going to enable you to really actually create a life that matches those parts of you inside of you. And so all the other shit no longer needed. So yeah, it's scary. It does require some courage to go that extra 2 miles. It's a hard thing to do, but you can do it if you just give up one or two more things, whatever you feel, whatever it is for you. If it resonates, I'm sure there's something in your life that you could probably give up, and you'll just reach that next level, and it will be superbly better than whatever was going on before, and being lost would have made up for it. At least that's what my higher self tells me. Okay? All right, guys, thank you for watching. I hope you guys have a great day, and I will talk to you guys some other time.